as we progress in this Navaratri and we have looked at different ways of life, different aspects of life, and how we are building up our careers, there is a stage at which we get stuck. We don't know what needs to happen, or there is also a possibility that we sometimes wonder if this is the right way for me, or what is it that I need to do. And a lot of times people tend to go back to different people, maybe their seniors, some of them whom they have been respecting. They reach out to their bosses, they reach out to some of their friends to look at what really needs to happen. Not many times people are open to looking at talking to somebody or working with somebody to discover what is really stopping them, what is their real potential is about, and how they would be able to achieve whatever that they plan to achieve in this life. One of the very important and yet not so very popular term in India is coaching. When we talk about coaching in India, people directly tend to refer us to the coaching classes and not to the real way of coaching per se. Although it's a pretty crude joke, unfortunately, this is the reality in India. But there is somebody who has been making a very great effort, a very steady effort to change the situation, and then look at people helping companies to understand what the real value of coaching is all about and trying to build a coaching culture. It's an absolute privilege for me to have somebody who is a pioneer, who is a great individual, and even a better coach at helping people realize their true potential. It's an absolute privilege for me to welcome Riti Sinha in this particular session today. Thank you, Riti, for taking out time and joining us today.
Thank you so much, Charu. It's a pleasure being here and always conversing with you. Like you said, rightly, coaching, I think even what we were talking about needs a lot of awareness to step into organizations, and they start making it a part of their DNA. So I'm happy to be of any help here.
Okay. So we know you as a coach, and we know the amazing stories, the success stories that you have created. But the journey probably won't have started like this. So what has been your journey to becoming the coach Riti that we know today?
Interesting question. So a lot of times people will expect me to go through my life journey here, but I'll take the outcome of what I've learned through my life. My journey has been all about few factors: change, hope, faith, discipline, honesty, accountability, and independence. This is my life summed up for you. I come from an army family, so change has always been there. Even in my professional life, I have changed 3 careers to ultimately find the purpose that I want to, I'm there for. So change has always been a very important part of my life. And like I said, hope and faith. Coming from an army family, again, for us, hope and faith was the only thread we held on to when we had our father go on and fight for the country. Hope that he comes back, faith that he will come back. And that is very ingrained in all of us, whether we come from an army background or don't, because these are the 2 pillars of our life, and that's been a pillar for me also. And discipline, of course. One of the key learnings I've had in my journey, having changed 3 careers, is discipline, being honest about what I'm doing, being accountable towards my own profession and the changes that I bring in my life. I take ownership for everything that happens without putting a blame on anybody else, that I am not this because of somebody else. I am not something because of me, and that's accountability, right? And independence is something I've always been ingrained in to remain, have your own thoughts, have your own ideas, listen to others, but ultimately take your own decisions.
Great. When you talk about having the career or the entire journey being brought out so crystal clear in terms of the parameters. However, when you look at the industry and the career that you are pursuing today, the things always get mixed up. Whether you are reaching out to somebody as a guide, whether who should be a guide, who should be a coach, who should be a mentor, and who is a trainer. Sometimes these personalities get mixed up. Sometimes the individual performing different roles across different segments also get the things mixed up. So can you please help us understand how do we differentiate in these different roles?
See, it's very simple if you look at it like this. I am a trainer and a coach, right? Now I choose whether I want to be a time teller or I want to be a clock builder. As a time teller, as a trainer, I tell people what to do, what are the things they need. But as a coach, I'm actually building the person. I'm building the innate ability of the person to find his own answers, find his own path, you know. So coaching goes back, it's even older than Mahabharata, you know. So if you look at it, if you talk about the old coaching culture, what did Krishna do with Arjun? There were a few things he did, right? He told, the very fundamental thing that he did was to play the role of a sakha, a sarathi. And that's the role of a coach. A sarathi is someone who comes down to your level without judging you in any way, without making the coachee feel small in any way, and still shows him how he can build his own character to find his own solutions. So it's about telling the coachee that be right, be kind before being right. And once you find that, right, you when it comes to karma time, when the coachee has to take action, a trainer will tell you what to do. A trainer will tell you, you do ABC, but a coach backs you up. He coaxes you to take the action that you have decided you want to take, right? He supports you to enact that action. And that's what, if we go back, even Krishna did that with Arjun. He didn't tell Arjun what to do. He said, he supported him. He said, you decide if it's right for you and do it, and I'm going to back you up on that. Right. The third thing that a coach does is ensures. So if I go back to the Krishna and Arjuna story, at the end of Mahabharata, Krishna narrated something called the Anugita to him. Anugita is a smaller version of Gita. And he did that because he wanted to ensure sustainability for the coaches. He wanted to ensure that the learnings that he is actually giving is carried on for generations to come. It doesn't end with Arjuna. And that's what a coach does. He ensures that he is backing him up, but he's also making the coachee sustainable. He's making him, capable of sustaining his ability to find answers in his life, whatever the situation may be. Right?
How difficult it is for anybody to be Arjuna?
It is not difficult for anyone to be Arjuna because Arjuna was behaving like a normal person, right? He had his own fears, he had his own questions, he had his own assumptions, right? Now, we all have that. We all are Arjuna in our own ways, right? We all have our own capabilities, our own ways of doing things. So we are all Arjuna. So it's not difficult to be Arjuna, but it is extremely difficult to be Krishna. Because they say that even if you go back, there were various Krishna's avatars. So that's why I said, that coaching is even older than Mahabharata. So Sri Ram, for example, we're talking of Navaratri, right? So Sri Ram had two coaches. One was Rishi Vashisht, who gave him formal education of the Shastras, the Vedas, Dhanur Vidyas, called competency. So he made him competent as a king. And then came Rishi Vishwamitra, who was a king himself, a Chandravanshi king, and he worked with Sri Ram to appreciate the wisdom required to be a king. Right? Now, anyone can be Arjuna, but can we be that Rishi Vashishtha or Rishi, Chandravanshi king, Rishi Vishwamitra, who is enabling this kind of a wisdom? And that's what an Arjuna needs, and that's what we all need.
Amazing analogy. Now, one of the things I'm going to come back to this particular point from a different angle. Now, what I have seen is that a lot of times Arjuna himself was a very capable warrior. Rama himself was a very capable warrior, even when he was trained by Vashishta. But Vishwamitra was able to take him to a different level, because even his father was not willing to let him go, right? Saying that he is too young, or even I will come with you, but why do you need to take him right now? But he still agreed, saying, okay, I see the potential, let him come with me. And then overall, at that point in time, the potential exploded into something magnificent. But even at that point in time, after learning from such a learned guru, still being able to work with another guru to understand what his perspectives are, what his teachings are, from what different part. So not many people I have seen who have reached certain level of success are willing to learn something new. That appears to be a huge restriction, maybe a block.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll tell you what. While we say we are capable enough of learning it, your capability is your competence multiplied by your character. Now, if your character says it's what do we witness as character? Character is demonstrated by your humility, your perseverance, your bravery, how you self-regulate yourself, your leadership skills, your collaboration skills, right? So this is all coming under character. I may have the capability, but if I don't have the character to demonstrate, I don't have the character to look at anyone as my guru, to character to acquire that wisdom that I need to play the role I'm meant to play in this life, your competence is not going to help alone. And that is something people have to understand. That if you're talking about your capability, it is a multiplication factor of competence with character. And if you have to learn something, character is the most important. That the amount of character you have will determine your capability.
Now, this discussion around character brings me to the latest trend that's coming down to the market, which is the great era of resignation, right? Now, this particular case, we are living in an era wherein practically on my in the other author of a in IT venture, I see people at least carrying, moving around with 3 or 4 offers and looking for the best person to give him the highest offer, and they basically the individual goes to the highest bidder. That is what we are sensing it compared to the so-called character, or the fact that you have made a commitment and you are going to honor. So in this case, when there is a constant dilemma in terms of getting something better compared to I have made a commitment, there are always exceptions. But in this case, when it is happening and when we see only one particular parameter in terms of the monitoring gain taking over of the whole idea of commitment, and the industry is going into this a completely different direction, do the companies need to take a different approach right now in terms of getting the talent and also nurturing that talent over a period of time?
Yeah, so there are two ways we can look at this. Right now, a company can do two things here. One, they've taken the talent, they spend their entire time. So, as a company's character, they can choose to build competency and character in the other person, which makes them very capable to doing your job. However, in this current world, there is, this thing called instant gratification, something which people don't, it has become a very common thing for people, that how gratified I am at this moment, right? So this is where we say that you can either take that person without any expectations, nurture them, give them all they want, yet there is no guarantee that the person will stay, because that's human character, right? Or you can take an individual or who is internally motivated, right? Identify that this person has the right competencies, has the capability. I just need to give them a slight eagle's push, drop them from the mountain and they'll fly themselves, which is fine. But now this is also very difficult to find in people, because um, when we are looking for people, I think there is a very structured approach that I follow when I look for people I want to work with. So there are four factors I look for. Is this person aware of his own purpose? Right? Is he aware? Does he have a desire to fulfill that purpose? It may not be a desire to fulfill what the company is offering him, but his purpose, right? Now, what I need to do is, if he is aware of his purpose, if he is desiring to fulfill his purpose, I am there to give him the knowledge and the ability, the intelligence to take action towards getting a good role in my company. But what I cannot do is help him find purpose and desire. These are the two most critical factors I look in people. And these are my non-negotiables. And this for any organization, this is a non-negotiable. If the person is not clear with their purpose, they don't have a desire, then whatever you may do n number of training, coaching sessions, everything can happen. Although they say everyone is coachable, yes. But then again, I'll come back to this, this concept of, um, are these battles worth fighting for from a company's perspective? Do you want to spend your time doing that, or do you want to really, create an impact and take your business ahead with the people who are aligned with your vision and mission?
Yes,
So
agree.
I pick my battle.
Very important part, choosing the right battle so that you work on this bit. Now, this comes to the other part now. The company would definitely choose one particular part, saying like, okay, this is the some battle that they choose. And normally it's very important in most of the organization to have a core team. So because they need to retain a core team, there are going to be the changes that are going to happen around. But even in the larger organization, the leadership or the current leader minus one is the layer that they are very keen to retain and nurture over a period of time to eventually take over when the leaders either move into a larger responsibilities, new roles, or they superannuate. This
Yes.
point in time, how do companies create a roadmap for them, and what kind of a role a coach can play, or what has been your experience of building that a steady stream of, or the steady growth path for the leaders to have more of an internal leadership compared to getting the external talent?
Yeah. So this is a very important question, Charu, because the most of the clients I have worked with, it takes a while for them to understand why this. And here I'll bring in this coaching culture. You know, when you bring in a coaching culture, a coaching mindset is when leaders start looking at developing a second level leadership. Because at that time, you are coaching them to let go of their insecurities, right? Now, one of the most important things, is when you asked me what, about coaching, the most important factor of coaching is addressing your inner playground. What is the game you're playing inside of you, right? It is never about me talking to you and telling you how you should be. It's about asking you, well, this is your life. You have a playground inside of you. What game do you want to play? What kind of players do you want inside of you? What are your emotions when it's like a game of football, right? You hit a goal, you're happy. You miss a goal, you're happy, and that's inside of you. That's all inside of you. So, as a coach, I am addressing your inner playground. I am addressing your internal drive. And that is something I'm trying to make you aware of, right? Now, when I do that with leaders, when I do that with senior leadership, if what happens if in a game a player is scared of his fellow player scoring a goal over him, will it work? He'll never allow him to
Never.
score a
Yeah.
goal. So if the leader is in that mindset, that no, I will lose my job, or I don't have the capacity, or I don't have the time to nurture other people, it's his inner playground you have to address as a coach. When he's able to overcome that mindset, that no, to play my game inside of me and the game outside of me, I need everyone to play together, is when he realizes the importance of nurturing another leader. What if he's not there tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? So building that coaching culture, that coaching mindset, so it also creates a very psychologically safe environment in a company. When you develop that coaching mindset in leaders, people start trusting you. the organization goes into an internally driven environment. It's not that now I've coached Charu, so for a while Charu will take care of the company. But what if Charu leaves? Then what happens? Will you call me back? What happens to the others? So it's very important. The coaching concept is driven top down, bottom up in every direction, right?
True.
So whoever you are, you're a coach. You may be a leader, you may be a CXO, you may be a manager, but inside of you, your inner playground is that of a coach. And if you are trying to foster this kind of growth in an organization, you have to spend time coaching people on team management, ownership, resilience, decision making, goal setting, whatever it is, because that's when they're going to come in alignment with your organization and what their own purpose and desire.
True.
And once all this is in line, it becomes the organization's DNA.
Agree.
Yeah.
So,
So,
uh,
yeah.
sorry. Now, when you talk about a startup, right? When the people are so there are two things that exist in India today. One is the larger corporates who had, in a way, like Tata's and all, had a kind of a culture coming in one particular part wherein there are a lot of internally groomed leaders who worked over a period of time. Now, there are different thought processes wherein people want leaders from different companies to come in, bring in a different perspective, and they want to try and mix the things around, churn the things around to see if something new can come up in the established organizations as well. Now, in this particular scenarios, when you have these kind of changes that are happening, and there are a lot of people movement which is happening today, the cultures shift. While the overall company culture may be something different, there is one particular pocket. That particular pocket is led by one particular individual who comes from a different culture, and he wants his team to work in a different way compared to how the organizations was working. Comparatively different way this can, and that has led to a lot of heterogeneous cultures within an overall organizational culture. So, does streamlining this particular part is important, or even if that can kind of a difference can still companies prosper?
So I come from a belief, that heterogeneous environments can be super productive in some situations. They talk of this concept of positive deviance. Positive deviance is where um, a, a person who has very different thoughts, who's outside of your uncommon behavior, right? Who's demonstrating an uncommon behavior, gives you a perspective which leads to growth, which leads to new ideas. So a heterogeneous environment is not bad. How you respond to that heterogeneous environment is important. So whether it is homogeneous, heterogeneous, it doesn't matter, of course, unless of course the it's entirely out of control. That's something we'll have to look at. But if you're entirely talking of having a heterogeneous structure, good. It is going to help your organization, right? A lot of times when in product companies, there was I know of a company who was running a food delivery organization. And they said, I want to hire a person who does not come with any experience with food, because he will tell me what are the pain points. Otherwise, they are going to, if I hire somebody with, let's say, 25 years experience in this industry, he's going to come with fixed ideas and thoughts, right?
Agree.
So it's a way of looking at it. Sometimes heterogeneous structures in organizations also lead to creative destruction. Creative destruction is I am destroying a process which has been existing for, let's say, 20 years, 25 years. You've been doing it. Even for a startup, you've come up with a new process. But I am going to destroy that process and create a new process so that things work. So I'm not just going to say, no, this process doesn't work. I'm going to creatively destroy it to come up with something new for the organization. So heterogeneous structure is good. I am a believer of that.
Great. Now, this particular part, just building on the heterogeneous structure to the next level, wherein now we are seeing the next generation coming into the industry, as typically the millennials getting into the industry. Now
Yes.
they bring in a very different culture, and there is a very different conflict today. People who started their careers in early 90s, and probably the generation which is coming in today, people who came in at early 90s saw digitalization probably just as a beginning, manual plus some automated work. The generation which is coming in today comes from typically all the instant social media, the data, and a huge amount of data availability through Google, which is in a sense good because whenever they need the information, it is readily available. So they come from a very different mindset. They want quick solutions comparatively. The seniors want them to get a grip of the business first, and then they try and suggest any kind of changes that they have to happen. Now, this is creating a challenge in the industry, wherein this lot of this particular talent is getting into only the corporates, or a lot of that is moving to IT, which is
Mm.
far more open to this kind of a culture. Whereas on the other side, there is a substantial amount of talent crunch in the conventional industries because they are not able to retain the talent, and there's a huge gap between these two, between the
Mm.
how the seniors are looking at the part and how the newer generation is coming in and what their expectations are. Now, this kind of a mismatch, how how coaching can help industry address this particular gap?
Okay, that's a good question again. See, a lot of times, people in the current industry, there are two things that are happening, right? Um, and especially with pandemic now, it has further accelerated that employee experience, right? So a lot of companies are now offering substantial compensation to attract talent, right? It is a good tactic of the past, but now I think it's become very ineffective because the millennial generation now has become more purpose driven.
Okay.
uh, if you're again, so when I bring in purpose, coaching comes in, right? Now, if we look at that, by adopting a coaching culture, you become an employer of choice for your top talent because your culture shifts to an approach that is now going to increase, it's going to become an approach towards empowerment in the workplace. It's no longer like the traditional companies say, we are going to give you a job role. This is your job description. This is what you have to do. The younger talent now needs to be empowered more, and that's what the younger companies or startups are now trying to even do that. So coaching brings in that culture of empowerment, saying that I am leaving this in your hands. I'm leaving your capability, building your capability and competence in your hands. You tell me, what action do you want? We are bringing in more accountability there through coaching. We are bringing in that reinforcement through coaching, right? In these companies, saying that, okay, this guy has a purpose, he has a desire, he has the knowledge, he is ready to take action. But now through coaching, we are also bringing in a feedback model, a reinforcement model, that whether that action had a desired outcome or not. And if not, what is it that we need to change? So, with coaching culture, you're clearly sending a message that your employees are at the heart of your business.
True.
And this is what the millennial generation is looking for. You are creating a very resilient organization here, right? Where you are ready to meet the future workforce. The
Agree.
future workforce is no longer going to be skill based, or they're going to be role based, right? Um, they're going to be character based. They're going to be attitude based. They're going to be, stimulus based responses that are going to come. And coaching is exactly a mind shift change where you're moving from clearly defined rules, norms, roles, and expectations towards a more empowered environment.
For the conventional company, is it not some serious work?
It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but then, if you don't develop the future leaders with their emotional skills through coaching or their social skills, whether they are interacting inside or outside the organization, then you will not see your long-term strategy being implemented. Then you will keep going into the struggle of, people are coming in, I'm spending time with them, they're leaving my company and going because outside there's a better environment that is created. So now again, for a company, is it a battle worth fighting for? Yes. Yes. When trying to build a coaching culture, right? Of course, I think for a traditional company, it is very, very difficult. But when you look at it, you a coaching culture signifies the corporate values that you want to go with, right? Now, corporate value is what? You want to respect perspectives, you want to respect opinions, you want to push limits of thinking in any organization. You want to promote a forward thinking mindset, like you asked me, second level leadership, right? You want to promote, let's say, creativity and innovation in your company. If I tell you that, through a coaching culture, there will be people who will be more innovative in your company. Would you want to adopt that culture or not? Would you? At least the desire is there.
Yes.
I build awareness and desire in a company. Now, knowledge and ability of that culture can always be built with it.
Amazing. So you have right now almost completely defined the path for the organizations to transform themselves and how to build on this particular part. One last question. If this was the conversation, if Riti today, if what would be her advice to her 20-year younger self?
I think my 20-year-old, I spent, I think my advice to be would be to start saving early. Right? Nobody told us by now we would have been millionaires. That's one thing. Right. No, but apart from that, I think my main thing would be to be kind before being right. This is a statement that I live by. And, the other thing I always propagate is for youngsters that look at your past just to learn the lessons for the future. Don't dwell on that. Don't dwell on that. And my third point would be for them to, not look at instant gratification, look at a long term approach to your career, look at your purpose, be purpose driven rather than reward driven, and always validate your assumptions that you make about people.
Very important thing.
Have a conversation, have that, you have a problem with somebody, don't react, respond, validate your assumptions with people, and take your relationships ahead with that. That's my advice.
Thank you so much. This is just amazing. For the last question, would relate to everybody. Probably we were 20 year younger self, or even for the people who are into 20s and looking at the life ahead. These are the three most important points that they really need to work on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charu. It was wonderful talking to you.